This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
Get real.
You all ready for this? Dun 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 dun.
No.
Y'all, just stop.
This is a sham. Welcome to DBL. I like starting the show with a laugh. I was just saying before the show, I'm like, if Erica just came up here with a cape, like if anyone else did, we'd be like, what are you doing? And Erica would be like, oh yeah, you got a cape on.
Like, oh,
I do
cape
have
style
this like retro. I'm channeling. I'm gonna get you, sucker. Like I really like that. I even have acrylic heels.
Oh,
like, yes.
We need to put some goldfish in them.
Exactly.
All right, let's get to it, guys. For days now, it's all anyone is talking about: Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars. So now we're hearing from more actors and comedians about what they think about what went down. So Amy Schumer, who obviously co-hosted the event, posted to Instagram saying she was still triggered and traumatized. She's waiting for the sick feeling to go away from what we all witnessed. Zoe Kravitz posted saying, here's a picture of my dress at the show where we apparently are assaulting people on stage now. And Jim Carrey is speaking out too and slamming the A-list crowd at the event. Here's what he told Gayle King. Let's listen.
I was sickened. I was sickened by the standing ovation. I felt like Hollywood is just spineless, en masse. And it really felt like, oh, this is a really clear indication that we're not the cool club anymore. I'd announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million because that video is going to be there forever.
All right, I listened to that. I was intrigued with what Jim Carrey said, but being a comedian, how do you feel on that front?
You know, I did a podcast. I did my girl, Cooper Lawrence. I did her show last night, and that's what I said. I think that there should be a lawsuit. I mean, you know, Erica, you talked about the young black woman that was doxxed by the Proud Boys or something. She sued them. You don't use your hands anymore. You use the pen and you use your lawyer. And this isn't a frivolous thing. Chris Rock and Will Smith aren't hurting for money. But there has to be some precedent set that if not only do you put your hands on me, but now you've done something no different than if we were messing around and you put a scar on my face and how that would affect my career. This is a digital scar because he's going everywhere he goes, every time he posts, every time he tries to promote Sonic 3 or whatever movie's coming out where he's voicing some character, somebody's going to ask him about this. There has to be a punitive and tangible price to pay for that.
Yeah.
You know, when I heard from Jim Carrey, I thought about you because Al, as a comedian, because obviously this is something y'all go on the road, you post where you're going to be, people know where to find you. You know, like, so with the idea that people can come specifically for this reason, and Chris Rock's sales have gone up,
way up.
Through third-party sales. But what is the reason for that? Are people going there to support, or are they people going there to throw salt in the wound? Now, everybody has their opinion, and again, I think it comes from their place of understanding how it personally affects them. I just, like, I don't know what the price is. Like, I don't know what that punitive number looks like. And I also don't know if it's to Chris Rock's benefit to start a lawsuit. Like, does that make it worse for him?
Does it drag it out?
Right.
Yeah, I think the one thing I think that was worrying the producer, Will Packer, who was of the Oscars, who, by the way, the ratings went up by like 58%. So bravo to him and his female
Shayla Cohen.
Thank you for knowing that. But you also can't kick Will Smith out because then you have sort of a racial issue, right? It's not a good optics to see Will Smith as a black man leaving in handcuffs of the Oscars, which is a mostly white audience. That also looks really bad. Do I think he should be there to give Best Actress next year? No. Do I think his Oscar should be taken away? No. But I do agree with Al that this has to be a hard stance. Either you're not coming to the Oscars next year or you're out of the Academy.
I'm going to totally disagree with you about taking him out as an optic. It looks like you taking someone out of a place that just assaulted somebody. You could place an optic on there that it's a black man being taken out in a white crowd. You just assaulted somebody. I don't care what color you are. You went on stage in front of 10 million people and punched somebody or slapped somebody in the face. You're getting taken out of there because of your actions, not because of the color of your skin.
If a black man smacked me during one of my comedy shows and you guys were all there and then he went back and sat in his seat, would you guys be like, I'm glad they didn't walk a black man out? That would look bad?
No, but I know there's a lot more baggage with the Oscars in terms of what that means.
I get it, but the baggage currently happened and it's across my face right now. As I'm partially concussed, I'm sure.
Right. So what's going to happen to Will Smith? That's a question everybody's asking. The Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts, and Sciences, the group behind the Oscars, is holding an emergency meeting today. 3 days later, what an emergency.
I know, like what?
They're going to decide what actions to take place to discipline Will Smith. So Whoopi Goldberg, who is a member of the Board of Governors, gave more clues yesterday. She said there are going to be big consequences because nobody is okay with what happened. Disciplinary actions could include anything from taking away Will's Oscar to suspension from the Academy. Will could also be banned from future Oscars. A decision could reportedly take weeks to decide. I mean, I don't know. Listen, I don't agree with taking away his Oscar either, but just the way Hollywood is, right? And I'm in this business, and I'm kind of just speaking how I would at home, right? What happened to Chris Harrison? What happened to Mike Richards? I don't want to equate the two, but they made prompt and quick decisions, and they took them away. I would like to see what Chris Harrison was doing at home watching that and saying, whoa, they didn't escort him out, and there still is no decision. He got a standing ovation. I'm not equating what Chris Harrison did, but Hollywood's actions are so swift, and then to stand up and applaud, like Jim Carrey said, the actions of someone that just assaulted somebody, despite the color of his skin or status in this world, what happened to doing the right thing? Why is there always an equation to spinning what's going on in society and cultural issues to right and wrong?
I think that you're seeing a major pendulum shift. You know, you're saying these things about, you know, Chris Harrison and Mike Richards or whatever, and conflating those. And that's the conversation that a lot of circles have been having for a long time. Why is this particular demographic being held to a higher standard? Why is this particular demographic getting more discipline than the other? And terms of what we're talking about right now, it is a very nuanced conversation. It's a very layered conversation.
Very layered, yeah.
People can't even decide whose side they are when we are on, when we physically saw what occurred at that time.
That blows my mind.
But that's how life works.
Yeah,
when you talk about Jim Carrey saying, we're not the cool kids anymore, well, Jim, I'm sorry, but that happened years ago when we realized, and at least not even realized, admitted that Hollywood was also a place that protected predators and predatory behavior. It's not the cool people situation anymore because of Will Smith. This has been a long time coming. And also, we have other mediums now. People's biggest celebrity that they idolize is a YouTube star.
Yeah, TikTok.
You know, so it's just a different thing now.
It is weird though. It's like my teacher in history class did something where some guy came in and screamed something, and he asked us all to write it down from our point of view, and we each went around and said it, and every single person in that room had a different account of what happened, and we were witnessing it as it happened. And what he said is, this is what history is like. It is told from different points of view, and you're not getting the full thing. None of us got what he actually said or was wearing. This is being seen by a prism of different layers. It's really like a pop culture event you could do a thesis on. The black women, the black men, the hair, the baldness, the comic.
The violence.
The violence. There's so much to it that it's not easy to be like right and wrong on this one. It isn't, even though it looks it. Does that make sense?
100%. I appreciate what all of you guys set up here. Yeah. And it's day 3 we're talking about this now. I think we're going to continue to talk about it because it is so layered. It is so nuanced. And everyone does have a point of view. But it doesn't mean the other person's point of view is absolutely wrong or they're racist or they're anything in some sort of way. This is a good conversation to bring to the table and kind of break down some of those things in society that people don't want to talk about.
Absolutely.
I love it. Coming up on DBL, Erica. Yeah. Let's lighten the mood up. Graces the red carpet at the Essence Black Women in Hollywood event. She talks with some of the stars from your favorite shows. And Bruce Willis is stepping away from acting. It's sad. We'll explain the reason why coming up next.
Closed captioning provided by
Russia mines nearly a third of the world's diamonds, according to U.S. Treasury estimates, and 90% of the country's mines are controlled by Russian company Alrosa. After Russia invaded Ukraine last month, Alrosa and its CEO, Sergei Ivanov, were hit with U.S. sanctions. Now, there are headlines claiming the sanctions aren't doing much to stop Russian diamonds from appearing in U.S. jewelry stores. And if you're trying to avoid Russian goods, it may be a challenge. So, let's verify. Can you always tell if a diamond was mined in Russia? Our sources are the U.S. Treasury Department, the U.S. Department of Commerce, and Martin Rappaport, chairman of online diamond trading network, the Rappaport Group. On March 11th, President Joe Biden issued a ban on diamonds originating from Russia, but Rappaport calls it ineffective because it excludes diamonds that are sourced from Russia and are then cut elsewhere. Russia mostly produces rough stones that need to be cut and polished, and that's often done in other countries. So a stone mined in Russia could be sold to a company in another country, like China or India, who aren't on a U.S. sanctions list. Those finished stones can then be sold to the U.S. because they are made in China or India. The U.S. Department of Commerce explains this is perfectly legal because the diamonds underwent a substantial transformation, or, quote, a fundamental change in form, appearance, nature, or character, which adds to its value, unquote. So, no, you can't always tell if a diamond was mined in Russia. Rappaport is encouraging companies who sell through his exchange to include a diamond source, but it's not always required. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Welcome back. We do have some sad and shocking news. Bruce Willis is stepping away from acting due to a health issue. His daughter Rumor announced on Instagram that Bruce has recently been diagnosed with aphasia, which is impacting his cognitive abilities. In the post, Rumor said it was a challenging time, but said we are moving through as a strong family unit and wanted to bring his fans in because we know how much he means to you as you do to him.
Yeah, that's not an easy thing. So my mom has aphasia, and it usually occurs with either a brain injury, traumatic brain injury, or stroke. Something's happened to the part of the brain that affects language. And really what happens is you can't think of the right word to say. So it's either comes out as just gibberish, or sometimes my mom will be like, hey, Tori, pass me the fish. That's not the right word. And the words won't come out. It affects reading, it affects writing, and it doesn't mean they're less smart. I want to make that really, really clear. It's literally an injury to the part of the brain that has memory and language put together. So you can work on it. My mom does occupational therapy, but it's an incredibly hard thing because you're sort of locked in. You're not getting to communicate yourself, and it's a very frustrating disease. And acting would be incredibly difficult to do.
Yeah, it's especially, obviously, it's sad in every case, but for somebody that just was in our lives because of the way that they emoted, the way that they spoke, you know, it kind of reminds me, and I don't know if he was ever diagnosed, but watching Muhammad Ali the last couple decades of his life, somebody who literally redefined how to sell something to the people. He could sell a fight, he could sell his personality. And for him to not be able to speak at the end was, I feel like, the most torturous, especially because you know that with Parkinson's disease, the mind is still there.
It's still there, you're locked in.
Which is almost doubly cruel, you know?
It's a lot like ALS almost.
Yeah. I was going to say, I don't think this is the last we'll see of Bruce Willis, right? I'm glad he's being honest with it and open with his fans because he loves them and it made who he was. But Bruce Willis is such a character in our lives that him just walking into a scene in like a movie that we might know was like, that's it. You know what I mean? That's all we need. So I don't think it will be the last we see of him, but we do wish him well. Country singer Eric Church is canceling a concert in Texas over a basketball game. Not just any basketball game. In a statement posted on Ticketmaster, Eric told his fans he's canceling his upcoming show in San Antonio so he and his family can watch his North Carolina Tar Heels face off against Duke in the Final Four for the first time the two rivals have ever met in a Final Four.
I didn't know that.
This is a big game. It's a big game. He went on to say, quote, "This is also the most selfish thing I've ever asked the choir," he calls his fans the church choir, "to do, to give up your Saturday night plans with us so that I can have this moment with my family and the sports community. I'm a huge sports fan. Coach K was with Duke for 40 years. I don't know, something crazy. Most wins all time. This is his last season. It's a huge game. Eric Church, you don't cancel the show, my man."
Really?
I say no.
Bears in the Super Bowl.
I say, okay, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'm out of here.
Bears anywhere.
No, but man, all these people going to that city, taking their planes up. They're going to get their money back. The Ticketmaster is reissuing their money back.
Okay.
But,
dude, this is.
Can't you record it?
No.
You're not down with it? You're with it?
I think this is a product of post-pandemic life. People are really deciding what is the most important for them. And he said this is the most selfish thing he'll ever do. It seems selfish to people, but it's not selfish to the people who he loves and are closest to. That memory is something that he gets to create, and this is a calculated risk. Some people are never going to support him again, but he made that decision, and I think a lot of people are making those decisions now.
I changed my mind.
And you know what?
I changed my mind.
He was
Good
honest.
job, Eric.
That's why people like it. He didn't go, I don't feel well. He's like, I'm going to the game.
Or it's not ready or anything like the Adele thing.
All right, you turned me around. And Al's Super Bowl comment kind of shifted me too. Coming up by DBL, we've got a look at Erica's trip to LA for the Essence luncheon to celebrate Black women in Hollywood. Stick around.
Debate around gas prices has some online pointing to the U.S., saying we still have it pretty good compared to the rest of the world. So let's verify. Are U.S. gas prices per gallon lower than other countries? Our sources include energy expert Ken Medlock, globalpetrolprices.com, and the U.S. Department of Energy. For starters, data from Global Petrol Prices shows the average price of gasoline around the world is around $5 per gallon, but the range between countries is significant. Venezuela pays the lowest price at 10 cents a gallon, while Hong Kong tops out at more than $10. Experts say countries have access to the same petroleum prices on the international market, so the price differences mainly come down to a country's tax policy and subsidies.
Most European countries and Asian countries that are in the OECD have really high tax rates on fuel that's delivered to customers at the pump. So that is the primary driver of the difference.
Global Petrol Prices sums it up this way. Wealthier countries tend to have higher prices, while poorer countries and those that produce and export oil are often lower. The U.S. is a bit of an exception, ranking 73rd out of 170 countries the site tracks.
Generally, the United States is kind of in the middle of the pack in terms of the price of gasoline at the pump. That's been true for a long time.
A snapshot from the U.S. Department of Energy shows how the U.S. gas tax rate is less than most industrialized countries. While local and state taxes vary, the federal gas tax has stayed at 18.4 cents since 1993, and it would take Congress to change it. So yes, it's true that U.S. gas prices are lower than many of our counterparts in other industrialized countries, thanks to our lower tax rate. But looking at the big picture, what we pay at the pump continues to be in the middle compared to much of the world. With your Verify, I'm Liza Lucas.
So over the weekend, I traveled to LA and hit the gold carpet to celebrate Black women in Hollywood with Essence just before the Oscars. You're not going to want to miss this because I may just have chatted with one of your favorite stars from your favorite shows. Check it out. Hey, it's Erica Cobb here in Los Angeles celebrating Black women in Hollywood with the Essence 2022 luncheon. This is the 15th anniversary, and I'm going to take you, DBL Nation, down the red carpet. How much do you think that the world is imitating the art that we're seeing on a Black Lady sketch show?
The more present we are, the more our images are normalized on television, the more that we can see the reality for a Black president. We just had a Black president yesterday. I'm tired of seeing us have firsts, right? Because we should have been allowed to do these things. But we're going to keep kicking down those doors. One thing about us, we don't give up.
Tell us, what has this past year been like in terms of first? And I know that first is a big thing. How do you make sure it's not the last?
Well, I mean, I feel like being a first, it places a lot of responsibility, especially being an intersectionality of Black, trans, and identifying as a woman. So that's a lot. But one thing to not stop is seeing all my women here thrive.
This is your turn now. You hear me? Take it.
You know, I've heard the term artivist a lot, and do you consider yourself one, and what does that mean to you?
Definitely. I'm somebody who's always going to speak up when I need to speak up. I'm not going to shut my mouth on nothing, and I also really strive myself into being an artist, and I think that's what artists do naturally. We express ourselves through our artistry, and sometimes when we had enough, we speak up, so that's what it is.
Natasha. Yes. Okay, so many of us were unfamiliar with your comeback story until the end of Insecure. So can you give someone who might need a little motivation out there a moment of wisdom from you?
It's a lifelong journey, girl. My advice would be is to allow yourself to be seen, to trust in your ability to do more than one thing at one time and not be afraid of that. And I always say be prolific, not perfect. It's not about perfection.
Superheroes are not real.
In terms of working with Ava DuVernay, was she your mentor?
You know, she's sort of like my aunt. You know, it's so great because our set specifically with Ava's company Array has so many people of color, and I still have to see black camera operators. I've never seen that in my life before in any other show that I've done. So I felt really, really comfortable, and that's like my family.
We are very, very sad that after 8 seasons, Blackish is saying goodbye. What will you miss the most about being on set?
Ooh, when you've been on a show for 8 years, it's like there's so many memories that you build, and you create a family. What's up?
Hey, so we just had you on Daily Blast Live not that long ago, and I'm wondering, how do you balance there being just you, your family, and your team, and not having a villain that goes past the show?
You know what? It's kind of cool. Like, I like doing Candy in the Game better because I do get to give my family and the people that have become like family a platform to shine.
And that's a wrap for the red carpet. Who was your favorite interview? All right, till next time, DBL Nation.
Great job, Erica.
You're so cool.
Yeah, that was, first of all, our team here at DBL is amazing. Chris McPherson, Gabriella, Peter Ortiz, of course, Chris Clark, I got to give a shout out to you. Because, you know, we aren't necessarily like the show that goes and does the red carpet, and they understood how important this was to me and the amplification of Black excellence. And I really appreciate that so much because we don't always get those opportunities. So thank you to everybody, and thank you to everybody who talked to me.
Yeah.
You look so good.
You look great. I love when
fantastic.
people get outside the studio and do something they're passionate about. I love it. I'm passionate with you, so great
Thank
job.
you.
We'll be right back.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by...
It's historic, but not in a good way. Wildfires have scorched more than 120,000 acres across Texas this month, according to the Texas A&M Forest Service. One person has died, 150 structures have burned, entire communities have been evacuated. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which spotted the fires from space, says they've been fueled by a favorable mix of warm temperatures, low humidity, and strong winds. But what about climate change? Is that making wildfires worse? For answers, I'm looking at studies from the National Center for Atmospheric Research and Texas A&M University, plus talking to Dr. Mark Cochran, a wildfire expert at the University of Maryland Center for Environmental Science.
Is climate change making wildfires worse in the United States?
Yes. Climate changes that we are experiencing are quite demonstrably making wildfires worse and harder to control.
Okay, but how? Let's start with the fact that humans burn coal and other carbon-based fuels. That sends massive amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. And carbon dioxide is really good at trapping in heat. This line shows more and more carbon in the atmosphere over the last 140 years. And this is global average temperature. In 2020, the average temperature was 2.14 degrees Fahrenheit warmer since the time when we first started burning coal. This research paper from scientists at the National Center for Atmospheric Research finds because of that warming, there is a drift of the Southwest climate into a drier state. Dr. Cochran says that drier state helps dry out vegetation, making it easier to burn.
And so that, more often we're going to have these conditions where those fuels are so dry that the fire behavior will be much more explosive.
And it's only going to get drier. The Texas state climatologist at Texas A&M projects drier conditions during the latter half of the 21st century than even the most arid centuries of the last 1,000 years that included mega droughts. Cochran says the only sustainable solution is to adapt the way we live with, manage, and fight fire.
We can't do it overnight. We can't change everything all at once. But we have to learn to live with this fire more and more because as we're seeing, we can't put them out anymore.
So is climate change making wildfires worse? The answer is yes.
The latest data from the USDA show 59 confirmed sites of avian flu across 17 states so far this year. Just this week, an outbreak was confirmed at a commercial flock in Nebraska, causing 570,000 broiler chickens to be destroyed. But how the outbreak affects prices depends on a lot of factors, like how widespread it becomes and which flocks are hit the hardest. The last time avian flu popped up, back in 2015, egg prices saw a spike, but chicken meat largely remained unaffected. That's because the outbreak primarily hit flocks of egg-laying hens, while chickens raised for their meat fared better. The good news is, while it may end up hurting our wallets, we likely don't have to worry about infections. According to the USDA, you can't get avian flu from eating poultry or eating eggs that are properly prepared and cooked.
Good morning, aviators. This is your captain speaking.
And we're off.
Here we go. Intrigued.
I was intrigued. Welcome back. We're getting another look at the upcoming Top Gun sequel, Maverick. Tom Cruise is back, obviously, this time as an instructor. Let's take a look.
We're going into combat on a level no living pilot's ever seen.
Not even him. You think up there you're dead. Believe me.
My dad believed in you. I'm not gonna make the same mistake.
So in case you missed it, Tom Cruise goes back in time and looks exactly the same. No, in case you missed it, that's Goose's son, Rooster, played by Miles Teller. Goose, who was played by Anthony Edwards, died in the original, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
And could we also see the return of Iceman, the character played by Val Kilmer, famously is only shown as a portrait on the wall. In real life, he lost his voice to throat cancer. So, I mean, again, kind of like that Bruce Willis thing, if we kind of just see him in there, we'll get it.
I just want
right?
I just need to see him like a cameo of him in there with Tom.
It's like, come on, writers, earn your money.
Yeah,
figure out a way to get him in there.
Yeah.
How excited are you guys for this?
I mean, it's like the first Top Gun was like, fighter planes, and now it's like, here's somebody running a simulator. Like, I don't know if I want to see the teacher. I'm sorry.
You do.
I want to see the fighting part. I don't want to see the instruction.
How about the volleyball scene where they take their shirt off? Because apparently they change it to a football scene. Huh? They up the game and their shirts are off. Do we have a picture of that?
Miles Teller looks real good. Let's see. Oh, that's not it.
Tom Cruise fly.
There we go.
That was a flash cut right there, huh?
Miles Teller, you something. He looks pretty good.
Have you ever played football against your adult friends?
Did you just like walk over it? Go ahead.
Al just totally ignored what you said.
I don't know what you were saying.
Okay.
That's the perfect sentiment. I have no idea what y'all do.
Erica, we're going to watch it together. We'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place.